This is an SM Media production.
Hello folks and welcome to the latest episode of the SM Media Scottish Women's Football Show. I'm Scotty Pike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. An all-star panel on tonight's episode. We've got a busy show to talk to. We've got a champion special, shall we call it. We're going to chat to two players from the champions of the championship. I've said champions quite a lot. Rossvale. First of all, it's always a pleasure to welcome my co-host Suzanne Mulvey. Suzanne, fresh from a wee shot in the press box this week.
Yes, it wasn't the most exciting game, 0-0 Rangers Celtic, but it was good to be up in the press box and to speak to Joe and Elena and a couple of the players after the game, so it was good. A lot of draws all round, but still exciting at the top and the bottom of the SWPL.
Yeah, I think if you did that, you've did an old-fashioned pools coupon on, you'd have probably done all right in the score draws this week. But in terms of obviously what special guests on this week's episode, it's an absolute pleasure to welcome, first of all, the captain of the champions. It is a pleasure to welcome Lynne Jackson.
Hello, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you very much for joining me. And we've also got one of the stars of the side that has won the league and cup double, and we'll be playing in the SWPL 2 next season, Megan Whiteford.
Hello, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. We're looking forward to this. We'll obviously get your thoughts on what you've achieved this season and your kind of hopes for going into next season. Suzanne, we have to start obviously talking about the game on Monday. We've spoken about this a lot this season when Celtic play Rangers. There is a glaring, obvious, apparent theme that when Rangers and Celtic are playing against each other this season, not getting beat is way more important than anything else. Now, that was apparent on Monday. We spoke about that privately, that we both thought whoever wins this will win the league. That was glaringly obvious. If it was a draw, it would have suited Celtic. There's no doubt about that. And watching that game, it was just as cagey a title race game as you would expect. And I always go back to something that Pep Guardiola said a few years ago when Barcelona were playing Real Madrid and they were playing in the league the week before the Champions League semi-final. And he said, I don't care what happens as long as we don't lose. We're still in the driving seat. And I think that is a theme of this story of this season, is avoiding being on the losing end is just the most important thing for these two sides. And is that kind of how you would assess the game on Monday?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Celtic are 100% in the driving seat. It's the best position that they've ever been in terms of it's in their hands. If they win all their games, they win the league. Plus 13 goal difference is huge. For Rangers to pull that amount of goals back at this late stage when it's top 6 teams are playing against, it's going to be really hard. So, of course, it's Celtic's hands. But, yeah, I mean, Rangers hit the bar a couple of times. Tash Flint had a couple of chances. She wasn't herself. You know, I felt at the end of the game she was carrying a bit of an injury. She looked like she was struggling, but the warrior that she is, she was trying to play right to the end and obviously help her team win. But yeah, just 0-0. And again, both the managers after the game were basically discussing it, saying that, you know, there's still a lot of football to be played, so the both of them are still optimistic that they can lift the title.
Lynn, I don't think there's any doubt that obviously suits Celtic in terms of their goal difference, but I think as well, it's uncharted territory for Celtic. Like, they've never, as Suzanne says, they've never been in this position in terms of being the favourites to win the title. Now, it can work two ways, but Celtic basically, like, one thing Celtic have done this season is they've scored a lot of goals in a lot of games, and basically if they keep doing that, they win the league. But that's quite hard to have that pressure into it, especially if you've never had it before.
No, definitely, but they just need to concentrate in each game as it comes and just focus on keep scoring and keep doing what we've done all season. I think they can do it.
Megan, is there a possibility that I think if you'd said to Joe Potter, you'll walk away without losing that game and your squad's intact in terms of, like, obviously there's probably more pressure in Joe because they're going for a treble at the moment. Do you think she would have taken a draw? Or is that kind of, like, how do you kind of look at that from a kind of outsider perspective? Does a draw clearly suit Celtic, but I don't think Rangers will be gutted.
Yeah, I thought they definitely suited Celtic better, 100%. But as you said, I think for Rangers, especially how the game went, they definitely would take not getting beat at least. But I thought they had chances to go and win the game, but I thought both teams done really well.
Suzanne, obviously it has been a strange experience, obviously being there and kind of been in the pit of Broadwood and seeing what happened and things like that. Like, look, kind of body language the two managers always find interesting after a game. What did you think? Like, what was your kind of reaction? Like the players, like you had said something interesting as well when we spoke after the game. You had said like obviously Rangers were just a bit deflated, and I can understand that, but I'm kind of intrigued just to see like what the managers thought after the game and what the kind of reaction was once that whistle had went.
Yeah, I mean, I think Joe Potter kind of, felt that they were the better team and that they should have came away with the win. First 20-25 minutes, they were by far the most superior team, hit the crossbar. And in the first half, Tasha Flint only had one kind of half chance that she dragged wide. So they never really had a lot of chances. In the second half, Celtic came into it a little bit. But vice versa, Lynne, I thought that they should have, won the game and picked up the 3 points. In terms of Rangers being quite deflated, I think that's possibly a missed opportunity. It's an opportunity, almost as what you'd call it. You normally say it's a 6-pointer, but it's a chance for them to then be in the driving seat. So I think for them, possibly a missed opportunity. But speaking to Kelly Clark after the game, she was up doing the interviews, and then I had a long conversation with her, and she was saying that what's driving them on is all the near misses over the last couple of seasons. She mentioned that somebody had sent her a video clip, and it was literally all of their faces when they just found out that Glasgow City had scored at the last minute. And she says that they got sent that, all of their faces, and the next minute it went upbeat, and it was like this season I'm scoring all the goals, and obviously it was motivational, and for her that's all she's wanted. She's won the League Cup, the Scottish Cup, so this is all that's missing for her trophy cabinet. So that's what she said, it's driving her on. All the players that have been there for a few seasons, but the new players that have came in, she says that they know what it's all about to play with Celtic, and they know what's expected of them, and that's what's driving them on to hopefully for them lift the title at the end of the season.
Well, and I think obviously like missed opportunity is quite an interesting point there, because obviously Glasgow City had played on the Sunday against Hibs. They would have now been looking at it going, we could have put serious pressure on Celtic and Rangers. And I think in Sunday, I think in Monday night, I think one team that's completely blown it's Glasgow City, which is weird to say because they've obviously done so well, but they'll look at that on Monday thinking we've blown an opportunity here.
Yeah, they might have felt they could have got more out of the game, but I feel like it's City's season in general. I think they've just been unlucky with injuries and all that. So I think they'll be happy with a draw on Sunday. I think, make it harder, made it more interesting and still been a part of it.
Megan, what do you kind of think, like, in terms of looking at the season so far, especially looking at the bottom of the table as well? Nothing really changed there either. So obviously, as Suzanne said, we had 6 games in the top flight, and this weekend 5 of them were draws. Hearts were the only team to pick up 3 points. They won against Partick Thistle, and there was four draws. Hamilton Aberdeen was probably been a great game for the neutral, but again, it was a cagey weekend. Like, no many teams wanted to get beat.
Yeah, I think we come to this stage in the season, it's that way of some teams, you play in a way that you're a bit scared to get beaten. I think that's why these draws happen, because you're not going for it as much as you would at the start of the season, because there's more on the line.
And Suzanne, we obviously have another interesting weekend coming up, Glasgow City Rangers, that you're going to be at as well.
Yeah, no, it should be another great game. It's a chance for City to kind of show that they're still in the race. I mean, 6 points off it. If they beat Rangers on Sunday, it's only 3 points, so still really interesting. Obviously, depending on what Celtic's result is, they could be 3 points off the top. But yeah, no, it should be another great game. Peters Hull, a tight pitch. And Glasgow City, they've shown that they beat Celtic on occasions. They've drew them recently. They've shown that they're still right up there at the top of the table. And I think the slip up, as we'd call it, against Hibs at the weekend, it just shows you Hibs are inconsistent. They turn up some weeks, they don't other weeks. And I think this, last weekend they turned up and they showed what they can do. Obviously coming back for 2 goals down, but it should definitely be a great game. And obviously, if Rangers drop any more points, then it just kind of makes it even more, obvious that Celtic are possibly going to lift the title.
SWPL too, there was a bit of a change. Obviously, Kilmarnock looked very much likely to clinch that second spot. But all it takes is one weekend, and now it's getting a bit exciting because Kilmarnock obviously lost to Queen's Park, and Livingston picked up a massive 3 points away to Gartcairn. Means there's a point in it. Lynne, obviously, someone who kind of knows the game and things like that. Like, who out of kind of Kilmarnock and Livingston do you think is most equipped to go up?
Well, if you look at obviously Livingston were in our league the year before, so you would say Kilmarnock, but Kilmarnock's changed a lot as well. It's got quite a young squad now. I mean, there must be about 4 players that I think are pregnant, so they've lost quite a bit of their squad as well. So
Yeah.
again, it could go either way because it has changed for Kelly, but you would think Kelly, but I think Livingston's done so well where they've got to. They came into that league and they've done brilliant, so good on them.
Megan, have you been surprised with how well Livingston have done? And obviously, like the season before, the Montrose are climbing up the leagues as well. And I think the job that's been done at Montrose has been excellent as well. Have you been surprised that they've been able to jump up the leagues as well as they have?
No, I'm not surprised at all. I think when they went up last season, we played them last season and it was always quite close and they were always a good side. So they've obviously improved as well. So I'm not shocked at all with how well they've done. And again, fair play to them.
Suzanne, it's very exciting what's coming up in the next 2 weeks. Obviously, we've got playoffs that's going to be at the end of the season as well. There's just a lot going on, cup finals. I think the next 3 weeks are as good as we can hope for. And again, just the kind of run in is going to be so interesting.
Yeah, I think this is probably the most exciting end. We say that every year, but the fact that it's so tight at the top of the league and the bottom of the league. Obviously, in terms of Livingston, Kilmarnock have got the point advantage, and I think the other thing that they've got an advantage is that the last game of the season, Livingston play Queen's Park as well, who are the champions. Who that'll be a really tough game for them. So it could go right down to the wire, but obviously a really tough game for them at the end. And in terms of obviously the kind of relegation drop in SWPL 1. It's so hard to call whether it's going to be Dundee United or Hamilton who'll get the automatic drop and the other one in the playoff. It's just, I couldn't call it. It's just so close.
Absolutely. And obviously, we're talking to Megan and Lynne, who are going to be playing in the SWPL 2 next season. I'll start with Lynne with this question because I'm fascinated to kind of get both your thoughts on this. You've obviously had the real disappointment in the playoffs last season. I think a lot of people thought you would go up, and I think obviously just on the day it didn't happen. But did you view that? Was that a motivating factor to look at this season and go, right, we've nearly had that opportunity, we can go again? Was that a big driving force to where you have been this season?
To be honest, I think last season it was like a freebie. Julie came in and we were like, let's build, let's concentrate on next season. So it was kind of, I don't even remember getting to second. That way you just think game and you're like, oh wow, we're actually second, we're in a playoff. Because it wasn't our objective, it was set out to do as well as we can, build for next season and focus in this season. So I think it just kind of crept up in us, which actually made it a bit less stressful and quite calming, and we enjoyed the football. We built a cracking team. And then obviously main focus was this season, but we didn't deserve to go up last season, to be honest. We weren't ready. I'd say deserve, we weren't ready as a squad, but we're more ready this season, and that's why I think we've managed to do it.
Megan, what has been the difference this season? Like, has it been just a case of another year of experience? Like, the league has been so good in terms of kind of, as we say, teams that have went up, but there's a good level. There's good teams in the league that have obviously kind of different kind of runs of form, and obviously this was the first time that teams had come down as well. So it's been a very interesting campaign. What's been the difference, do you think, over the past 12 months and kind of where you are now?
I think as Milky was saying, like last season, that just kind of happened for us, whereas this season we went into it knowing what we wanted to do, and we had a great squad to begin with, but we brought in more players, and I think also as a team we've all been on the same page and with the coaches of what we want to achieve, and the team morale's been really good as well. So I'd say that's definitely helped us to get success.
Suzanne, what's impressed you about Rossvale this season? Like they've been so. I just think just what like results. Looking at the results every week, looking at the performances, looking at like Megan's in the score sheet all the time. Gemma McQuillan's doing really well. Really good back line. Just looking at the kind of stats today, they've just been so solid and just so aggressive. And I think that's been the highlight for me, is just watching this Rossvale team just grow. And the other side, just I'm not bigging you up, but I do think you can go on and do what Livingston have done and potentially go up again. And Suzanne, I think a lot of credit has to go to Julie as well for the job she's done.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's what Lynn touched on. I think that they just weren't ready last season, and they've kept the core of players, added a couple, good strength to the squad, and I think that's just what it is. They've managed to bed in the players. Julie's put a mark on the team the way that she wants to play, and it's worked. And they seem more than ready to come up, and I'm excited to see what they can bring to SWPL too. Definitely.
Well, and obviously, like again, we speak on the league as well, and I think obviously with the kind of way the kind of league's worked this season, with East Five coming down, it has made for a busier league, and I think there's been a lot more entertaining action. We saw last week, obviously, a couple of weeks ago, you were going for the title. Ayr, I think was it 4-4 against East Fife? I mean, that was a very interesting game, and it was just like these sides are competitive. They'll give you that. Do you know what I mean? They'll give you a run. I think just the consistency you have shown though has just been so impressive, and that's the thing that's jumped out to me is just that the consistency you've had.
Yeah, to be honest, consistency was the key for us this season. Like East Fife and Ayre's the only two teams that could beat us. So, and East Fife were a cracking team. They were hard, even the 4-4, which we didn't actually realise how important that goal was at the end to get that draw, because then it came into the pressure the following week, which probably got a wee bit overwhelming for us as a club. So, yeah, I think it's consistency has just been key for us. We've just been focusing week in, week out. We've not been, looking at the future. We've just literally took it each Sunday as it came and just tried to strengthen our team.
Megan, obviously yourself, just looking at your stats, 20 goals this season. What's been the kind of driving force for you in terms of like are you playing in a more settled position? Are you getting a good balance? There's a really good balance inside. Just looking like Lauren as well. Lindsay Holmes has been really good. Like Lynn, Sarah, Gemma. There's such a good balance in the side. Like, what's been the kind of key factor for you to kind of be able to kind of hit the numbers you've been hitting?
Yeah, I think for me, last season, it was my first season at Rossvale in football for a few years, and it was just kind of finding my feet. And this season, I've tried to work hard in pre-season, and I've been playing in the 10 more, and that's again kind of like what Milky was saying. For me personally, consistency with that, it's just helped me find my feet, and all the coaches and the girls, they help me. They always spur me on and stuff. So I'd definitely say that.
Lynn, obviously as well, just kind of looking at the Rossvale over the past few years and speaking to a lot of people at the club and the kind of men's side as well, like there's been a real progression in the women's game. Like Rossvale are one of the very few clubs that I spoke to about 3 or 4 years ago, and they said like we're all in this together. And I think it's been very, very impressive to see that what's been happening at Rossvale. And do you know what I mean? Like to see where Rossvale were a couple of years ago in terms of the kind of what was going on behind the scenes in the men's side. The women's side's been kind of the main driving force of the kind of whole community for the past couple of years. And I think that's quite telling just to see like any time you tag Rossvale in anything in social media, there are 20 people retweet it before you've even, do you know what I mean? It's even out there. Like Rossvale, they're just so good in terms of their kind of network and their outreach. And just the club, I think, is just so well done, well oiled to kind of be like a top side if they can obviously kind of keep it going.
Yeah, I think obviously this is only our third year, so I think you're right. They've just refocused the whole club into going right. We're going to get a women's team. We're going to, but again, we've bet what they expected. They had a 5-year plan. We were meant to get there in 5 years. So we as a team, Julie and the coaching side, have achieved more than what they wanted, because they're going to need to fork out more money. So they're probably not overly happy, but that's what we all wanted to achieve. So it's good that we've achieved it. But yeah, they've got the backing, the social. It just seems that you're right. It just got a good feeling, a good club now behind it. But yeah, they're dead supportive. The men's side as well, our awards are with the men this year, so we're really coming together as well, and we're really big on the community side of stuff as well. So it's just about expanding that and getting it out there so that Rossvale is a club, because we're not got that big name behind us like Kelly and all that. So it'd be good to get that community backing as well.
Megan, what about the kind of coaching staff as well, like Julie and her team? Like, I speak to them a lot, and they're obviously every single week when you ask them like the kind of their reports of the game, they're very, very honest. Like they assess everything quite well, and they can. One thing they do every week is they are very positive about the players. Like they just every single week, you just when you speak to whoever you speak to at the club, they're so like like speak very highly of the likes of you, Lynne, like so many players that have been like player of the week as well. Whenever they put a player of the week up, they go into detail as to why they deserve it. And like that's one thing that stands out to me as well is like I think Julie's really good in terms of like kind of our personal management. Is that fair?
Yeah, that was the first thing that came to my mind there when you were asking me that, is they're so positive and, they care about us as people as well, as players. And yeah, they're always just positive with us, even when things aren't really going our way. They'll try their best to look at the positives first, always, before we look at anything else. So I think that definitely helps us as a team, and yeah, it's great from them.
And it's nice as well, obviously, Lynne, when you win a league, you want another wee bit of silverware to go with it. You've won the cup as well. It was a stressful watch to see that. Like, obviously, was keeping an eye on it. I don't think it was what you would have wanted to do it that way, but obviously, it's a trophy in the cabinet. It was very much like left late, but I think again, speaking to kind of people with the game as well, Drybra gave you a good fight, but obviously, it's just your kind of consistency, just got the job done. And again, I just want to kind of run down some of the games. Like, you were so impressive in the build up. Like the build up, obviously beat Steny 5-0, who are going to come up this season, beating Renfrew in the semis. Like, just the run was so impressive. But the only hard game was probably the final.
Yeah, I thought Drybra were brilliant, to be honest, in the cup final. Could I say nerves? I do think it was nerves. Even me, I've played football since I was 8 and I was nervous, but it's because we wanted it, and it is one game at the end of the day, a cup, and Drybra, to be fair, came at us and we just didn't expect it, because about 4 weeks before we beat them 6-0 and they had a completely different game plan. They sat off us, which we liked. It was at Peasy, which is a kind of different type of park, but no, fair play to Drybra. And to be honest, he could have scored 2 at the start of the game. It might have changed the game, but you don't know that, I suppose. But the fact that we kept going, you're right, the consistency again, and we started coming into the game, you could see it in the second half. We weren't, that nervy way, and we calmed down and managed to get the goal in extra time. But yeah, it was a bit nerve-wracking, I'll give you that.
Megan, for yourself, obviously, like, what was that feeling like winning the cup, and as we say, getting that kind of that trophy and kind of building towards like the league was, you've been so solid in the league. I think probably a lot of people would have thought it was just a matter of time, but it's hard getting that first bit of silverware, and it can just be that kind of extra wee gear just to kind of shift you towards a more kind of balanced league. And I thought that would be the driving force, and it has.
Yeah, I think for us, the priority's always been the league, but winning the cup, it was amazing. I think it definitely was nice for us. It was the last few weeks, it was, it was stressful. There was a lot of pressure on us to win games, win the league, and then the cup final, obviously. And like Milky was saying, Drybra made it really hard for us. But yeah, so it was a great feeling.
Looking ahead to next season, Lynne, I think we'd be remiss to ask you, obviously, there must be a wee part of you going, right, we've seen what Montrose have done, we've seen what Livingston have done. There must be a wee part of you going, we can go up here and challenge. Like, it must be going through your head.
To be honest, we just have to look at our squad, and see who's staying right now. Julie will have lots of conversations with players. We need to just try and stay together as a group and focus on that, and then, not focus too much about what will be will be. We're just going to have to try our hardest, train our hardest. We're going to need to get fit, and that's, but I'm talking about me personally, I'm not talking about anybody else, because we're the golden oldies, as Julie like to call us. But so I think that's it. We just need to focus on the fitness, focus on the good thing as well about us is the fact that their season isn't ending for a few weeks. Our season's ended, so we can get the break right now, regroup, and just start early pre-season and just try and focus on that. But yeah, do I think we'll be okay? I do. I just think we need to take each week coming, just not take anything for granted and try and stay up there.
Megan, I was going to ask you obviously about Lynne, and obviously, like Lynne had said, about the experienced players in the dressing room as well. How important have they been to the likes of you, and kind of like, as I say, like they must be a big factor in terms of advice and just on the park as well. And I don't think that's a coincidence that if you've got that experienced kind of back line and things like that, can just be a driving force to players like yourself, obviously coming through. Like, how big is an influence as the likes of Lynne been?
Yeah, I said to Milky actually in the cup final against Drybra, I thought she was unreal. Like, I thought she was great. And I think it's that aspect of especially the last few weeks that we had there in the season. It was a lot of pressure, and we knew there was a lot on the line. So just to keep everyone focused and focus on what we're trying to do, it's very important.
Lynne, same question to you really. How important is the likes of Megan being, and kind of like the progression she's shown over the season, the numbers she's been able to get, kind of players like Megan who've been so important as well. Like how impressed have you been with Megan's attitude and the way she's kind of went through this season?
Oh, for me, Megan's been. See where Megan's came from, like from last season. It's unbelievable. She's just completely. I don't know what's happened. She's just turned that's just not stopped. It's been amazing to see, and I couldn't be more proud, especially for Megan. So she deserves everything. But it's not that, it's all of them. Every single young person in that team drives us all together. We're like a family, it's not just a case of the oldies or the youngies. It's not like that. We're just a big unit and we drive each other, it's like you can turn up on Tuesday and 8 o'clock at night you can't have all training, but we just seem to all dig in as a team and really help each other in different aspects. So I think that's been key to what we've achieved. Has been all of it, to be honest. The coaching staff as well, like they come out and do this and make drills and make it good, and we just keep each other going.
Yeah, absolutely. Megan, for yourself, obviously, before we get into a bit of fun, obviously, with the teammates quiz, your personal thing, obviously, this is going to be another challenge. This is going to be next season, SWPL. It's going to be a different kind of set of teams that you're going to come up against, different set of players. How much are you looking forward to that?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think for me personally, I'm always wanting to do better, wanting to do more, and I think this is a good challenge for us, and I don't see it as one that we can't go and take and be successful in. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and it just keeps us all working hard and wanting to improve our game individually, but as a team as well.
Right, Suzanne, before we get the teammates questions and things like that, I want to kind of just ask you in terms of what you think about Rossvale chances next season. Like, we speak about the SWPL too a lot, and there's a lot of sides in it who I think are going to be improving next season. But as I say, I think Rossvale's going to be high up there if they're obviously able to keep the core and add where they maybe think they maybe need to add. I think next season's SWPL too, if it's what I think it's going to be a seriously good league, even if they come up as well.
Yeah, I think it's always a very, very tough league. There's always teams that you think are kind of floating about the bottom half, whether it's kind of your Stirling Unis or your Boroughmuir. But I mean, Boroughmuir are only kind of, 4 points behind Livingston or something? So they're right up there. It just shows you how good it is and how things can change. And a couple of personnel changes. Obviously, Garth Cairn this season have went the other way. They almost got up last season, and then they've kind of struggled a bit this season. But in terms of Rossvale, I think Lynne touched on it. It just the mix of experience and youth, and I think that's what when I was at Motherwell, that was the massive thing. We had so many kind of experienced players in the team, but then also there was some youth there, and we came up again when we got promoted. We came up against some really good sides, and obviously Lynne will remember we played Kilmarnock that season when we got promoted at Motherwell, and I think that every time I came up against her, I always thought it was such a tough challenge. You were always a player that I liked to battle with, and I think that's that kind of the experience that you've had in maybe playing with teams like Kilmarnock and the SWPL before. I think it's things like that that'll obviously add to Rossvale's chances of doing really well this season. And obviously the likes of Megan saying that she likes to always push herself forward. And on another note as well, Gemma's always a player that I've admired, pacey, an eye for goal. And I think that I'm excited to see her in SWPL too, because I've seen her a few seasons ago, and I always thought that she should be a player that's, testing herself against some of the best defenders. So I think it'll be exciting to see what she can do as well. So I think they'll hold their own definitely. And I think that the characters that they've got in the team, and obviously the coaching team that they've got, I think that definitely sets them up to, obviously be right up there and challenge. And at least, show that they're capable of competing against the top teams in SWPL too.
Yeah, absolutely. And we want to find out a bit more about the dressing room and find out a bit more about the characters that's in the kind of Rossvale side. So we thought we'd bring back the teammates quiz. It gets such a good laugh. It gets some good responses. So I'm going to, right, you can both jump in. You know what I mean? We don't want the same answers. We want different answers. We want names as well. Don't be afraid to name and shame people. Teammates round. Right. Let's start with who's the best trainer?
That's a hard one, to be fair. The best one.
That's quite good that you're struggling. It shows that everybody kind of puts
on a push, Megan or Gemma, I can't decide out of the two of them. They've just been unreal. They've set the tone. They don't let MD get away with it, and they just bring up the standards.
I was going to say Gemma.
Okay.
Well, that's nice.
No, that one, Gemma.
Right.
Myself.
This one might not be as hard. Who's the worst trainer?
Oh, this is easy. Fiona, she doesn't do Brenda's.
I'll agree.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Sorry, Fiona.
Most skillful?
Gemma.
Hard as well. Gemma is good, but the Weean, I always call her the Weean.
Fiona's good as well.
She is.
when she can be bothered.
No, it's only the running. If Fiona can't be bothered, but she loves all the silky stuff. Okay, we'll go with Gemma again.
Who's the funniest in the dressing room?
Milky. She'll love me
To
soon.
be fair, it's no hard, honestly. The chat is woeful. No, I'm joking.
Best music taste?
Oh.
Who's the DJ?
I'd say Maya. Maya's. She's just
Maya is.
back here. I think Maya's got good.
We sacked the DJ when Maya came in.
Maya's good.
Most temperamental? Who's got an attitude?
Oh, that's difficult.
I know, we're quite nice.
Yeah, I can't. Nobody really jumped out to me for that one.
Attitudes? No, I mean, like, do you mean on a game, like if somebody bites back at somebody?
Aye, like who's the kind of pit bull and the like? Who would be? Who's
Sarah Rhymes? She could go for it. She doesn't because she's calm now because she's older, but she would let loose.
Who's the quickest and who's the slowest?
Gemma's the quickest. That's not even.
I'll go for the slowest.
Who's most likely to be a manager?
Oh. I don't know. That's difficult.
Nobody's ready to hang up their boots yet.
Give me a year.
I'm trying to think who's like. I don't know.
Nobody's as good as Julie. We can't do it.
Fair enough. Right, in terms of the kind of final question, who's the kind of manager's pet? Who's very much the kind of how high kind of like that kind of thing? Who does everything the manager says? Quick.
None of us. So honestly, nobody's like that. We all just kind of listen and I think, but not like, oh, how high. She would say nobody listened. She would say nobody.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know for that one.
Okay. Right, in terms of the kind of the goal, like that's obviously the kind of teammates, but just a kind of final part before we get into the kind of shout out and kind of wrap the show up. Lynne, looking back in this season, winning a cup double, where does it rank in terms of your career?
Oh, it's the best achievement I've ever made with a group of girls that I've never enjoyed my football as much as with Rossvale. I've played at higher levels, but it's just not the same. And at the point where I came to Rossvale, I fell out of love with football. COVID hit, and they just completely changed it. And I realised it wasn't. It was just I hadn't been in a team that I was happy with. So it's the biggest achievement I've ever made, and it's with Julie, who I already won a cup with Julie years ago.
Yeah.
So she's a friend, not just a manager to me. So it's been special winning it with her and the boys as well every day, to be honest.
Megan, what about yourself? Where does this kind of rank in terms of your achievements?
Yeah, same. Top for me. As I said, like we knew it was what we were going into this season, but I think if you told us like that at the start of this season this is going to happen and how many games we won and stuff, you know, I don't think we really would have believed you. So yeah, definitely it's up there for me.
Well, we wish you all the best for next season and congratulations on a very, very good campaign. Suzanne, we've got time for your shout out this week. We've heard some really good raving reviews about your shout outs over the past few weeks. Who's the next person to get a mention?
My shout out this week is Josie Geard of Hamilton. I think she's a player that I'd played a few games alongside her at Celtic, and she's one of the players that, you know, sometimes you see a good player, but then until you actually play alongside them, you actually see the quality in them. And that was a player that stood out for me when I played the games at Celtic. She was just a player that I thought, wow, she's fantastic. I didn't realise how good she was, and that's how I was so shocked when Fran came into Celtic and she left. I was really shocked at that. I thought she was one of the players that would have stuck around, or you know, that they would have wanted to try and win titles. So I think Hamilton, you know, and Bobby will say it himself, they're really lucky at Hamilton to have Josie. She scored something like 40 goals, you know, the time that she's been there. Probably well over half of Hamilton's goals. Every time, you know, Hamilton score goals, you always see it's her name on the score sheet. And I think as well, when they're at that end of the table, every goal is absolutely vital. And there's so many games where, you know, last minute she's got a goal, or she's, you know, the equaliser or the one goal that's got them 3 points. So for me, I just think it's a player that deserves it, and the fact that, you know, she's kept kind of or played a massive part of keeping Hamilton in that league, and then obviously in this running, you know how tight it is at the bottom. I think that she'll be a key player as well.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant shout out there from Suzanne. Thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in to the latest episode of the SWPL Show. I want to just thank my special guest first of all, Lynne. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Been a pleasure, and to Megan as well. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Brilliant. And Suzanne, pleasure as always. Thank you very much.
No problem, thank you.
Brilliant. And thank you very much, folks. We'll be back next week with a new episode. Thank you.